As the clock ticks forward to 2023, America is facing a crisis that threatens the very fabric of its society. The signs are everywhere, from the empty storefronts lining Main Street to the long lines at food banks, and from the staggering student loan debts to the skyrocketing medical costs. It's becoming clear that the land of the free and the home of the brave is in deep trouble, and the consequences could be dire. Americans have consumed far more wealth than they've produced, sent around 50 million good-paying jobs overseas, accumulated the largest mountain of debt in history, and repeatedly elected politicians who've shown little concern for the nation's long-term future. Today, more Americans rely on the government to make ends meet, putting millions of people in a precarious situation as we stand on the brink of the next economic recession. For some reasons, the American families are collapsing. First, the Consumer Expenditure Survey provides insight into the spending patterns of low-income households, revealing that a large portion of their income is dedicated to essential needs. Specifically, around 75% of their income is spent on necessities such as housing, transportation, food, and utilities. This leaves only 15% of their income for other important expenses like healthcare, childcare, and higher education. This highlights the financial strain that low-income households face, as they have limited resources to cover basic needs and little left for other important expenses. This can make it challenging for them to access quality healthcare, education, and other opportunities that can improve their quality of life and economic prospects. Second, according to recent studies, a full-time minimum wage worker in the United States cannot afford a modest two-bedroom rental in any county of the country at the current federal minimum wage of $7.25 per hour. This means that even if someone is working full-time at minimum wage, they would have to spend more than 30% of their income on rent, which is considered unaffordable by most housing experts. This is a worrying trend, as the lack of affordable housing is not only affecting low-wage earners, but also many middle-class families. The situation has been exacerbated by rising housing prices, stagnant wages, and a lack of investment in affordable housing programs. Many families are now forced to live in overcrowded or substandard housing, which can have severe consequences for their health, education, and job prospects. Third, the lowest earning 10% of Americans are facing an alarming predicament when it comes to affording rental housing. These individuals are estimated to have to spend nearly 55% of their salary on a one-bedroom rental, leaving them with limited funds for other necessary expenses such as food, transportation, and healthcare. This is particularly concerning given that the average hourly wage for this group is only $11.17. However, it's not just the lowest earners who are struggling to make ends meet. Even those who earn the median wage in the United States, which is $21 per hour, are finding it increasingly difficult to afford rental housing. Rents are on the rise across the country, putting a strain on the finances of many Americans. This trend is concerning for a number of reasons, including the potential impact on economic mobility and overall well-being. Without access to safe and affordable housing, individuals and families may be forced to make difficult choices, such as sacrificing basic necessities or taking on additional debt to cover housing costs. As a society, we must work towards finding solutions that ensure access to affordable housing for all Americans, regardless of income level. Fourth, the Bureau of Labor Statistics data shows that the typical American household now spends $1,784 per month, or $21,489 annually, or 35% of their income on housing. The poorest 40% of all Americans now spend more than 50% of their incomes just on food and housing. The bottom 30% of the income scale makes an average of $14,000 per year, yet the poor spend more than $25,000 annually on necessities like housing, food, and transportation. The middle class isn't doing much better either. While their annual income exceeds $54,000 on average, they spend over $48,000 on necessities. Fifth, food prices have skyrocketed. A pound of ground beef cost $2.41 in 2008, but by 2022, that price had increased to $4.60. Flour increased by 14%, milk by 13%, and eggs by 15%. In the last month alone, Compared to the same time last year, seafood surged by 11%. Prices of staple foods like cereal and processed vegetables have gone up by at least 10%, while those of baked goods and sweets have gone up by 9% and 8% respectively. For March 2021 until now, the cost of dairy goods went up 7%, infant food cost went up 11%, beef went up 16%, pork went up 15%, and the cost of chicken grew by 13%. Sixth, due to a nationwide increase in school lunch prices over the previous 2 years, at least 1.54 million students are currently unable to pay for their school lunches. According to a recent report by the School Nutrition Association, 43% of schools saw an increase in the number of students who went hungry last school year. At a national level, the average meal debt per child is $170.13 per year, and the total national public school meal debt is $262 million. Seventh, in 2015, working families spent 7.2% of their total income on childcare. This year, that figure has risen to 9.6%, or 40% more than what the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services estimates is the means of defining cost effectiveness. Eighth, the median household income in the United States experienced a notable decline in recent years. According to data, the median household income was $69,560 in 2019, but it decreased to $67,521 in 2020, and then fell even further to $51,480 in 2021. This drop marks the first significant decline in household income since 2011. The decline in median household income may be attributed to several factors, including the COVID-19 pandemic, which has impacted the economy and led to job losses and reduced work hours for many Americans. Additionally, changes in government policies, fluctuations in the stock market, and other economic factors may have contributed to the decline. The reduction in household income is a cause for concern as it affects the financial stability of families and the overall economy. It may lead to increased poverty rates and reduced consumer spending, which can have a ripple effect on various industries. 9. A recent analysis by Oxfam America, an anti-poverty advocacy group, reveals that approximately 52 million workers, or about 1/3 of the country's labor force, earn less than $15 per hour. This means that over 15 million Americans earned less than $31,200 in 2017. The study's author and senior research advisor at Oxfam America finds it appalling that some of the hardest working people in the United States, including those who keep our economy and society functioning, struggle to make ends meet and are falling behind, even as many U.S. companies are reporting record profits. It is a challenging time for millions of people, and if the next recession hits, it will cause widespread financial hardship. The system is beginning to crumble, and we will need more understanding and compassion than we currently display. If you or someone you know is facing any of these difficulties, it is essential to be supportive and empathetic.